A chance for a shower, a few clouds around this weekend with temperatures in the 60s, guys.
All right, thanks, Steve. Tonight, a story about influence and money and who gets the attention of your elected officials.
Lobbyists will spend more than $3.5 billion this year. The I-Team's Agit Limor shows us how some of that money is spent with a hidden camera investigation.
Our cameras, along with 5 of our sister stations, took the story of lobbyists beyond the obvious campaign contributions behind the scenes to the kind of dinners and parties and gifts most of us never witness.
Let the good times roll.
How y'all doing tonight?
Even when they aren't so good for many Americans who can only dream. Free steak and wine and gifts galore.
Here you go.
Trick or treat.
Candy to sweeten the pot at the National Conference of State Legislatures.
We gather this week in the shadow of the Alamo.
Lawmakers from all over America met in San Antonio last month.
Welcome to Texas.
And our cameras followed.
Accessing capital, federal procurement.
From the business sessions to exhibit hall floors, to the sponsored meals and private parties. This is Ohio night with no expense spared. And who's walking up but Cincinnati's Richard Dick Finan. Once the president of the state Senate, he now serves as a lobbyist, and he has plenty of company. From booths to huge signs for top donors, industries and individual firms line up to sell their message.
You really are talking about incredible access to that legislator's ear and the ability to influence that legislator.
Catherine Terser is the director of Ohio Citizen Action Money and Politics Project. The nonpartisan consumer advocacy group looks at public transparency, something she says is lacking with what happens in some of these private social events.
The problem is the backroom. The problems that I worry about have to do with the wining and dining.
When you're being wined and dined, aren't the lobbyists buying some access?
Well, certainly they have access because you're, in some cases, seated at the table with them. But I don't see any correlation between lobbying and whether people have access, because anybody who wants to have access, you know, can call the office and set up an appointment.
Tom Niehaus not only represents Claremont, Brown, and Adams counties, he's taken over Finan's old post as president of the Ohio Senate. He attended the conference and defends the rights of every sponsor trying to impress him. He's right that there's nothing illegal about the silver-plated tubs of brew or the goodie bags and all the pens, flashlights, shirts, and toys sponsors give free to fill them.
It seems kind of funny because little Chotsky's like, why does this make a difference? And yet, those companies know that it makes a difference.
Or they wouldn't spend the money on it?
Or they wouldn't spend the money on it.
Well, if they're getting something, I don't know what it is. Do they have an influence? Only to the extent that they provide you information. You know, but it isn't a matter of I'm going to call someone and say, well, how do you want me to vote on this?
Niehaus points out what we confirmed, that no tax money funds the legislator's way. He says he paid out of personal and campaign funds and spent more time here learning from other legislators than lobbyists.
For me, you know, the conferences are professional opportunities, much like every other profession, whether it's engineers, the medical profession. You know, this is an opportunity for professional education.
But Terser says it's an opportunity for much more.
If you're hanging out with a bunch of bank lobbyists, after a while, those are the people that you could listen to over your neighbor, over your constituent. But it would be wonderful if there was an opportunity like this for the public.
If I go to a church festival and someone walks up to me and, you know, makes a pitch about a particular bill that they want me to support, are they lobbying? Surely they are.
He says no different than the handshakes here. Never mind anyone trying to massage some preferential treatment.
Wheel and deal face the same old tune.
There's a perception out there that there are backroom deals being made at these conventions and that all that money on steak dinners is being spent because it's producing some results. What would you say to that?
I would say that is a false assumption and perception. It's easy to feed on this idea that somehow we are getting rich, somehow we're getting paid off, and it's just not the case.
Much as lobbyists work to educate state legislators, state, cities, and public colleges are lobbying Uncle Sam more than ever, buying influence in Washington in a cycle that's become part of our political system. At stake, huge projects like the Brent Spence Bridge, worth millions more to the local economy. Back to you.